Hey guys, it's Crystal here after a particularly long absence. It's just been a year, right? We've all kind of had it, but it's been a tough year for getting anything done, and I finally seem to have a fire lit under my ass, so I've been working on some things again. This quilt, which is not finished quilting, I started it for when Moda has in September, I want to say, a National Jelly Roll Day, and this is the quilt top that I put together for National Jelly Roll Day. So I've started quilting it. I thought I'd bring it out here just to see if I can kind of show you what I've been doing. So in the white parts, I'm just doing like a swirl chain. That's a Angela Walters thing. And then in all of these bits, each ring is getting a different quilting pattern. I say each of them. I have 18 patterns planned, so I've kind of done 18 of them so far, and then obviously the great unfinished sections will start to get repeats, but I thought I'd show it to you because I think it's kind of neat. So I'm sure you can guess just by looking at this that this is not my work. This was made by my grandma. I have a number of quilts from my grandma. This one was in the basement at my mom's house for a really long time. My grandma thought that girls should have pink, so anytime she made a quilt for me or my sister, it almost always was pink, and this one is the pinkest of pinks. And it's floral, which is another thing that I'm not wild about, but that's how pink this pink is. It's so pink. She did everything by hand. This is one of her later works, kind of before she passed away. It's not maybe her best quilting. I can see lots of little bits and stuff that aren't great, but oh, it's so dusty. And I also found a great big stain right there, which is lovely. You'd think when something's packed away in a tote that it would stay in good shape, and yet. Anyway, I went home to visit my parents in August, and my mom sent this home with me, so it's in my basement now. Not getting any more use than it was in my mom's basement, I'm sorry to say. I don't know, it's a tough one. I feel wrong about getting rid of the quilts that my grandma made. But at the same time, I don't know what's the sense in keeping something that I don't love when I have several others that I do. I don't know, maybe I should see if one of my aunts wants it. This is also not my work, so when I was at my parents' in August, my mom sent me back with this quilt top and asked me to quilt it for her. This is about half of it. It's folded in half this way, and then also some of it's hanging over the top of the step. She wanted to give this quilt to my younger sister who is moving out. In January, I think, so she wanted to have a quilt to send with her, so she asked me to quilt it up for her because she thought it would be faster than quilting it by hand. So I did get it all quilted. I did it kind of in a, oops, I'm wearing shoes that are only half on my feet, and the backyard is a big old mess, and I just stepped on a big lump of something and almost fell over. Exciting times. Anyway, I did like a dot to dot kind of thing that goes like that, and then also goes like this. So it basically makes like big circles. In these, you can't really tell, but in these it's all like dot to dot through the corners, so you go, you know, like so. I have actually an almost identical quilt that I made. My aunt who lives in BC, when I lived in BC, she gave me, I had gone to spend Easter at their house when I lived out there. This was in 2001 or 2002 maybe. And she stitches everything by hand, so I had been stitching by hand with her all these little 9 patches. And so then for Christmas that year she sent me, or maybe my birthday, she sent me a kit that she cut out of a navy blue 9 patch, which was the first quilt that I ever put together. I stitched all the blocks by hand, and it's still unquilted in the basement. At the same time, she cut this pink one out for my mom, and so my mom stitched it way back when, and it sat in the basement of her house all that time. And so she thought it was probably time to finally finish it up. So yeah, here it is finished. And then it'll go to my little sister. Okay, and finally one more not my work. or only a little bit my work. This is a king size quilt, so I have it folded in quarters, and you're seeing slightly less than a quarter of it. This was made by a friend's mother-in-law, and it was her last quilt before she passed away. She had a Grace frame in her basement and a Juki sewing machine, and this was loaded up about ready to be quilted when she passed away. So my friend's wife gave me her sewing machine, which was my Juki that I used to have, and this quilt top and the backing and batting for it. I have meant all these years, and this is, I'm gonna say, going on 6 years. I've meant all these years to get it quilted and give it back to Sherry. But I was so intimidated by the size of it that I had it done by a long armor. So you can see I hope you can see the very giant swirls that are quilted on here. I asked for it to be done quite loose, like I didn't want it to be really densely quilted because it's such a big and heavy and overwhelming quilt that I just wanted it to be like more like a comforter, I guess, or a duvet, as opposed to, I don't know. I mean, if I quilted it myself, it would have been just like, you know, like really tight quilting. So anyway, I had it quilted probably 2 years ago, and then I just put off binding it for so long, and finally I got it all bound. So I just want to get this back to Sherry. I hope she'll like it, but I think she will. I mean, like I said, it was her mom's sort of last project. Yeah, I just need to get on the phone and, you know, plan a play date with my friend. We haven't seen each other since the pandemic started, basically. Anyway, that's all I have to show you for this time. I probably won't be back until after that green quilt is quilted. And maybe a little longer after that, because I kind of want to do another. I'd like to get at least one more quilted this year, but we'll see what happens.